design of this project. With us tonight from RRM are Brian Hannigan, Kayla Shubelsky, and Katie Shelfont. From the city, we have myself, Danielle Lopez, and Ana Villalobos. Joanna Axelrod, our Deputy City Manager and Director of Communications and Community Services, has been instrumental in moving this project forward, but was unable to join us this evening. So tonight, with the completion of our introduction, I will speak about the project background. Then Brian will talk about the project design and some of our open options. Kayla will lead us through a number of questions to learn more about some desired design features. And we will all be available for questions and answers after, and then we will share some information on how to keep engaged with the project moving forward. Okay. So starting in early 2010, residents brought forward a vision of the Escondido Creek as a linear park, creating two important planning documents: the Revealing Escondido Creek Vision Plan and the Escondido Creek Trail Master Plan. Two top priorities emerged: to complete the missing link bike path between Broadway and Center City Parkway, and to create safe mid-block crossings along the length of the Creek Trail. As funding has become available, these improvements were prioritized. The missing link was completed in 2019 using a SANDAG grant, and work on the mid-block crossings is currently underway as the result of having received 2 state active transportation project grants. The city has also encouraged other projects along the creek. National Corps built Juniper Senior Village on Juniper Street at the creek. They allowed for a widened creek trail adjacent to their parking lot and added 2 headed light poles to add light to the creek trail. This kicked off a city project to add pedestrian lighting along the creek trail from Broadway down to Elm Street using CDBG funds. The Plaza de Oro mural and pocket park adjacent to Evans Tires was completed in 2014 through a partnership with the Revealing Escondido Creek folks and the Escondido Creek Conservancy. An inviting new entry to the Creek Trail at Elm Street was completed in 2015 in conjunction with a Habitat for Humanity home ownership project using additional CDBG funds. The Adoptive Creek program was established in 2017 by the Escondido Education Compact following an Opening the Outdoors grant funded through the San Diego Foundation. Through this program, community members can help keep a section of the creek clean and have recommended other small projects along the trail. In 2018, California voters approved Prop 68, the Parks and Water Bond Act, which set aside funds for competitive grants to build park and recreational facility improvements. As part of the city's commitment to reimagining the Escondido Creek Trail as a recreational and environmental asset to support a healthy community and a healthy creek, we applied for $8.5 million in statewide park program funding. The community told us that there was a continued interest in turning the creek into a premier linear park with a separation between wheeled users and walkers, connecting the community, the urban landscape, and other neighborhoods. With residential support, we were awarded one of 62 grants from the California Parks Department to fund the Escondido Creek Trail expansion and renovation project. This project was one of only 9 projects statewide funded at the maximum $8.5 million level, and one of only 3 parks funded in San Diego County. These funds will bring to life our collective vision for revitalizing the Escondido Creek Trail. The Escondido Creek Trail expansion and renovation project will improve approximately 4.5 miles of the existing Escondido Creek Trail between Harmony Grove Road and Midway Drive, as well as add new path beyond Harmony Grove Road. It will also create a double-sided trail through central Escondido. The primary goals of this project are to expand our parklands so that they're accessible to all users, to provide safe and engaging recreational and active transportation opportunities so that we will all want to use this space to go from one section of town to another, to provide consistency to the look and branding of the corridor, fostering equity. We've also begun to build some amazing partnerships around the trail over the last several years, creating opportunities for the community to reclaim this space. Some of these partnerships have been formal and long-lasting. Some are fleeting experiences. But a primary goal for this project is to continue to engage the community in the design and uses of the trail so that it will be our Escondido Creek Trail, a place we can all use together. And so after a number of years, we are finally at a point where we can see the beginning of great changes. Over the fall, we held a number of small stakeholder meetings. Many of you may have participated in those. With the information we gathered from those meetings, we've begun the schematic design with the features you told us you wanted. Tonight, we're asking more specific questions about those features. By March, we will have a full conceptual design and hold another community workshop to make sure that we got it all right. Then, spring through fall 2021, RRM will put together construction documents. These will be brought to a city council in the spring and in the fall, giving you another opportunity to learn more and to share your thoughts. Then we expect that construction on the project will begin in January of 2022, completing in fall of 2022. Okay, Brian?
Good evening, everybody. Brian Hannigan with RRM Design Group. And thank you for joining us. Sorry we couldn't be in person with all of you. I'm going to take you through the project design ideas that we're at right now. So first I'll kind of orient you of the length of the trail. So starting from the west end, where the new Citricato Bridge will be located, we'll be connecting in at Harmony Grove. And just to orient you through the site, there's the transit center near Center City Parkway, the bike and ped connectivity along Valley Parkway, Great Day Park in the center there, Washington Park. And the overall length of the trail is about 6 miles from end to end, from Citricato all the way out to just east of El Norte. So the primary goal or the primary efforts for this project will be the improvements from Broadway to Rose. And those will be getting the majority of the site improvements according to the grant application. And then on the secondary improvements will happen between Rose and Midway, and also the connection from Harmony Grove to the new Citricato Bridge. That section will extend the trail about 0.4 miles on that end. The other minor improvements will be in between Harmony Grove and City Center, and between Midway and just, well, all the way to the east end of the trail. So those would get like all the signage and wayfinding signs to link the whole experience. So I'm just going to take us through some of the existing condition photos out there just to orient folks. That's the new Citricato Bridge alignment at the far west end. And then the existing maintenance road, which will become a trail access to the Citricato Bridge. That's the pedestrian bridge at the transit center where the inland rail trail meets up with the Escondido Creek Trail. And along the midsection, the Broadway crossing, the Date pedestrian Date Street Bridge. One of the wider spots near the bridge, we'll see that later on, where we can add some more park space. This is at the Washington Park entrance. This will be a new trail access into Washington Park. And then this side is the north side looking from Rose, where the DG path, the soft trail, surface trail will be added. There's going to also be 6 pedestrian crossings, which is a separate project that the city's working on right now. That will be happening as well. So at Juniper, at Hickory, Fig, Harding, Rose, and Midway, we'll get new pedestrian crossings. And then just to continue some more views of the corridor at the east end. Approaching Del Marte, and then the very east end at Bevan. So just to go back to last summer and spring and summer of 2019, some of the application, the grant application, community outreach, these were some of the features and elements that you all voted on and gave prioritization to. And so we took that information and kind of just grouped it into like topics. So we grouped them into the greening of the corridor. So all those things that had to do with greening the corridor, we grouped those together, wayfinding and signage and branding, and then all the trail amenity items. So we could kind of gauge what was going to go where on the project. So these are some images we enhanced a little bit further from the grant application last year and what we're going to be doing on the project. This is the north side of the trail from Date all the way up to Midway. We're going to have the DG trail, which is a soft surface trail and landscaping. So that's the main surface of that will be soft surface. An example of that is in the upper left corner of the screen. We'll have benches and places to sit, seating throughout. We're looking at the outdoor fitness stations along the trail, landscaping with drought tolerant plants and trees, and new fencing. We're going to change out the chain link and try and do something a little more transparent along the creek edge, and then continue the lighting that has been started already. This is an example of one of the pollinator gardens that were outlined in the grant application last year, where we have some wide spaces in the trail. We want to look at those opportunities to provide little seating areas and garden spaces, pollinator gardens for birds and butterflies and those kind of things. Interpretive signs. And then enhancements along the paved path, the segments that are existing. We have the same, so the resurfacing of the pathway, kind of clean that up. Again, landscape and seating areas. And we're looking at to provide a water bottle filling stations for your water bottles when you're hiking along the path. That's at various locations. The drought tolerant trees and shrubs. The grant calls for 15-gallon trees, so they'll probably start off pretty small when we first get going. And then again, continue the enhanced fencing and the lighting along the path where it's missing. So these are some visionary sketches for areas where we can add public art. This exhibit shows a little bit of public art on buildings or on those faces of buildings where we have blank walls, and we have been talking to some of the owners about ideas for that. And then there might be places along the concrete lined bank where we can do art and murals. So at the crossings, there'll be the new pedestrian crossings we talked about earlier. And we're looking at enhancing the fences. And some of the different fence types we're looking at are split rail type fences where there's open areas next to the trail entrances. It'll give it more of a park feel to it. And then some of the fence replacements along the creek will be either the wrought iron or just newer chain link. We're looking at doing some artistic fencing at certain locations where we can enhance the entryway to the trail with artful kind of features. And then again, changing out that chain link fence along the path so there's a little more visibility through it with the cable fencing. This is just an example of one of the bridge crossings and entrances to the trail corridor where we can do the artistic fences. And now I just want to take you through some of the ideas for the enhancements along the path. So first at Date Street, where it's just kind of in the center there, all the way east to Rose, we'll have the DG path. That'll be new. And we'll be also looking for those opportunities where the path is, where the corridor is wider to add the pollinator gardens and little walking paths and seating areas. We'll be locating kind of nature play areas where we have room to do that for kids to climb on logs or balance beams and things like that. We have, we're showing shade structures in different locations along the way. So if there's a long stretch of trail, you'll have places to sit and get some shade in addition to the trees. To the right, you see at Beach and other cul-de-sacs will be providing access to more places for people to access the trail along the corridor. So we'll be looking for those opportunities at cul-de-sacs that currently do not have access points. And we'll be looking at, again, the wall murals opportunities where there's buildings adjacent to the path. So some of the those little blow-up areas are showing the DG path where we can have the pollinator gardens and the nature play areas. And then like we said earlier on the outdoor fitness stations, we'll be putting in those spaces where we have room, and the water bottle filling stations at various locations. Also from Date to Rose and to Midway, we'll be looking at the lighting that corridor as well, continuing the lighting. So as we move further east between Ash and Harding, again, the DG path would continue on the north side, and then enhancements to the existing trail on the south side, and along with fitness stations and seating areas and the lighting. And again, all the fencing enhancements as well. And then this is Harding to Rose. Again, the little zoom shows the DG path, connectivity where we have cul-de-sacs, connection to Washington Park. So we'll be able to connect into Washington Park. So that'll kind of extend Washington Park into the corridor, kind of creating a linear park area. And then our fitness stations along the way as well. And then shade structures where we can have room to put those for getting out of the sun on the hot days. And again, continuing the lighting. So now you can see you'll have a really nice loop system in the corridor, and adding a couple of more miles of trail. These are some of the outdoor fitness features, and also showing some of the stations where we can provide those along the corridor. So you could do like a little workout walk, or if you're close by, you could loop through from your home back to the trail. Some of the examples that you see above will be looking at shortly in a survey. So after the presentation, we'll go into the survey. Here's some more features and examples of some outdoor fitness and nature play equipment. So there's lots of different varieties of those. And then shelter and shade ideas and water bottle filling stations. The seating, both it can be with stones or boulders and or just smaller seating areas or chairs or small benches. And then the wayfinding, which is going to go the full length of the trail, will help to orient people. We'll be looking at maps so you can see where you are, and then signage that would give directional signage. And the lower right corner is the one of the gateway features at Del Norte. We'll be looking at adding those to the corridor as well. And then just a branding for the creek corridor so it has signage that's consistent from one end to the other, tying the path together. And then a variety of trees we'll be adding to the corridor. These are from the city's tree list, in addition to the shrubs and ground covers we'll be adding. And again, like I said before, the grant application asks for 15-gallon trees, so they'll start off pretty small, and then you'll start to see them, you know, get a little larger around 5 to 6 years out. But those smaller trees do really a lot better than planting larger trees, so that's why the grants tend to do that. They tend to go with smaller tree species. So that ends the presentation of the corridor and some of the features, and we're going to be now going into the survey with you all, and this will give you an opportunity to kind of see some of the features that you'll be voting on and kind of sharing your thoughts on.
All right, thank you, Brian. Thank you everybody else for being here. We're going to go through a live poll. So we're going to walk through this slowly, and there will be 2 options to join. One will be via your phone, or option 2 would be via your web browser. So we're going to start with from your phone, so hold tight if you're going to join from your computer. So if you open up your camera app on your phone and you point it at this square code in the bottom left corner, you'll see a pop-up at the top of your screen that says website QR code. And if you click that link, it'll take you to the web page, and you'll be in a waiting room because I haven't turned the poll on yet. And for option 2, this is via your web browser. You will go to the website slido.com. When you get there, it's going to ask you for your code to join, which just is lighting up in blue here, which is 7527. And we'll make sure to allow a little bit of extra time right now so folks can get up and running on there. And if you happen to have more than one person in your house who's watching this that wants to join, they can join from a separate device. We're also going to provide this survey. It'll convert to a survey after this meeting. It'll be available on the website starting tomorrow, and it'll be open for a week. So if you have any kind of technical issues, it'll be open following this meeting. And then there's also hard copy surveys that'll be available at City Hall. So we're going to go through a quick demo just on the screen to show you what this is going to be like when we're using it. You can progress, Brian.
Yeah.
All right, and if anybody's still trying to get up online, the 2 modes to join are still on your left. 1 via the web browser, or 2 on your smartphone. So once I start the poll, you'll be getting questions. They will be in English and Spanish, and you'll be selecting your preferred response. Some questions we will let you know if you can select more than one. And then you'll click on the send button to submit your response. If you can progress a little more, Brian. So once we do get going, you'll see here how many people are in the meeting. It'll be up in the top right, so you'll know how many participants are joining and actively engaging, and then you'll start to see what % of those people voted for the various questions. And then if you needed to, you can edit your response if you selected something and you changed your mind or you hit the wrong button, then that's where you would be editing your response. So we're just going to let people get on. I'm going to launch this on my end. And please feel free to use the chat function as well. All right. So you should be seeing my screen, which still has that code and the QR. We're gonna start the polling now. This is just a sample question, so you can get the feel of it. You should be seeing this on your own individual devices, either on your web browser or your phone. And this is just a sample question, like I said. So Escondido is a Spanish word meaning hidden. So what do you think was hidden in the city that inspired its name? So you'll see in the top right, like I mentioned before, we've got 5 people who've already submitted their responses. And then you see the live feedback coming through here. So we'll be able to ask some questions and get a pulse from you, the community, of what you're desiring as we continue through this survey. And we're gonna, as we mentioned, leave it open for the community to anybody who may have missed tonight's meeting to still continue to provide their feedback. And it's live, so I'm controlling when we progress to the next question, so we'll be moving along together as a group. So we want to hear from you if you had participated in the past community engagement for the grant application. Most recently took place in spring of 2019. This is just going to help us get a feel for who here is newer to the project and who's been involved in the past. And again, for anybody who may still be trying to hop online to this, you can join. It's over here on the left side of the screen on your web browser at slido.com. It'll ask you for this 4-digit code, 7527, or via your mobile device through the camera app. You could scan the code up top. And we're curious if you live or work within walking distance of the Escondido Creek Trail. So maybe you live and you work near the trail. Maybe you just work there. You may not live or work near the trail. You may be a user who drives over to the trail to enjoy it. So it looks like we've got a mix of folks who work near the trail and folks who fortunately get to live and work by the trail. And how do you currently access the trail? Do you get there by walking, jogging, or running? Maybe you skate. maybe via bike, you drive there on a wheelchair, or something that we may have missed and none of the above. So a good portion of you walk, jog, or run, some bike, and a couple drive. And you'll see up here the number up top with 9 for the engagement happening live. And when you are using the trail, how are you using it? Are you using it for leisure? Are you out there for exercise and recreation? Maybe you use it to commute for the folks who live and work near there. Do you use it to access the businesses or access parks along the trail? I believe this is a multiple response. When you see it as a square option rather than a circle, that means you can select multiple responses. So we have a lot of people who are currently using the site to exercise and recreate. We've got folks out there for leisure and some who are commuting. So this is really great. You're all here tonight and we can see these answers live rather than waiting for the data. And we will be compiling and adding the data as it's received over the next week from anybody else who's not here this evening. So of the top grant amenities that were expressed by the community during that outreach process, we want to know which of those are you most excited about? Maybe the landscaping along the trail, could be the pollinator gardens, having access to water bottle filling stations while you're out there, fitness stations, some opportunities to have some seating. So we're here to see, what are you most excited about? So right now coming in at the top is the landscaping along the trail, which is very in line with the previous grant data as we saw before when Brian discussed when you categorize it and you looked at greening the corridor, that was really where a bulk of the numbers were coming in. So it's great to see that the community's still in line with the desires of the grant. Yeah, pollinator gardens and seating also very high up there. Now, if something must go due to unforeseen budgetary constraints, which is an amenity that maybe you could live without? We're curious to hear if of these, maybe your least desired amenity. It appears that bike fix-it stations are not as desirable. So similar to as what we would expect, this is an inverse graph to the previous question, which was what were you most excited about? And now we're going to dive into some of the types of fitness equipment that you would prefer to see along the trail. The inclusion of fitness equipment and promoting recreation was a top goal and priority that came out of the grant. So we're curious, you may select all that apply. Are you interested in seeing some strength fitness, balance, flexibility, aerobic, core? You're welcome to select all, none, or just a few. If you ever have a question that you do not want to answer, provide feedback on, you're welcome to sit back, and when I progress to the next question, you will move along with us. So a lot of folks are interested in strength, fitness, and balance, also aerobic fitness. So we're going to show a couple images. These are not by any means the pieces of equipment that are going in the corridor. They're not the manufacturer either. We're just showing some examples of what might be aerobic equipment for the corridor to just to start to see what direction people are leaning towards. So this is a select all. We want to know of these which you would like to use. The next question we will be asking you to pick your favorite. So we just want to know if you would use any of these. We've got a stationary row, monkey bars, and slanted jump boards. So on your device, you can click, there should be a little magnifying glass if you need to see the image larger, if you are not able to see on our screen while you're taking your survey. So it looks like there is desire on all of these amenities, and monkey bars taking the lead at the moment. So throughout these, we're going to also be asking you which one was your favorite of the three, between the slanted row, the monkey bars, the slanted jump boards. Again, if you need to make it larger, you can click the little hourglass button, especially for the folks who may be on a mobile device. So 57% coming in on monkey bars, 29 the stationary row, and 14% on those slanted jump boards. Now looking at the upper body strength, looking at the examples that we have here, it's again the select all, which of these would you be interested in, focusing on chin-up stations, pull-ups, the accessible parallel bars, or some kind of combination of push and pull fitness. And as we get further into the design, a lot of these manufacturers have great informational pieces that come along with it. So when folks are in the corridor, they may not know what exercises can be done at these stations, and that information can be provided. So it looks like everybody here who's put some input in is really liking the combination that had a variety on that one piece of equipment for the push and pull. Again, the push-up station, chin-up station, and accessible parallel bar. So of the four that we just looked at, please select your favorite. That is the chin-up station, push-up station, accessible parallel bar, and push and pull. And as I mentioned before, these are just examples. It's not necessarily the exact equipment that will be used in the corridor. We're trying to get a feel for the different character and which pieces of equipment may interest you for the different categories. And we will look at providing accessible fitness equipment throughout. So even though each category may not show something, we'll be looking at making sure this is equitable within the corridor. So the top favorite that came through so far was the combo unit with the push and pull options. Now looking at the lower body strength and looking at the options for a core challenge. This again is one of those little combo units, or looking for more individualized units like a squat chair. So we have folks who would be interested in using the core challenge and a few that would be interested in using the squat chair. And as Brian mentioned before, throughout the corridor, the plan would be having these little nodes throughout that you could create a circuit and you can go to multiple, or you can just go to one area. And that at the different stations, there would be different types of equipment, whether it be an aerobic and a strength, that we will look at it when we go through the design to make sure it's balanced throughout. And of the two that we just shared, do you have a favorite? The core challenge or the squat chair? Looks like most of the folks are interested in some core challenge. Transitioning nicely into which kind of core equipment would you like to see out there? Something like a captain's chair where you can lift and elevate your knees, or something that is more of a board where you can do these sit-ups and also stretch. Still seeing interest for both, but more for the captain's chair. So taking a look at those two, which one was your favorite? Looks like we've got a clear winner here on the captain's chair as far as the core exercise. And then looking at options for balance, looking at a balance plank, maybe having a step around or an assisted step trainer, or possibly a balance board. Again, these are the select all category.
And just as a reminder, if you had trouble, if anybody's participating had trouble getting on, they can always go back and take the survey later.
Thank you for that reminder, Brian. And also there's the option to pick up a hard copy survey at City Hall that can be turned back in if that's your preferred. So these ones all got quite a few votes on the balance. So of those, which one was your favorite? The balance board, the step around, balance plank like a balance beam, or the assisted step trainer?
Wow, balance board.
The balance board is taking the lead. And looking at flexibility, looking at an assisted functional trainer, stretch and core, or a knee lift. So the assisted functional trainer and the stretch core.
Tied up.
And this one, you're going to be able to type in your response. So we want to know what your favorite fitness equipment is that we may not have missed or may not have shared. There's a lot out there, so we just want to hear from you. If you type, you'll start seeing the responses come in. If you think we've got it covered, then you can go ahead and sit back until we move along. So somebody commented on push-ups. We'll just allow a couple more moments, see if anybody else has more comments to add. This one says, it appears the fitness choices are mostly geared towards adults, and will there be choices for younger children? I believe that's going to be one of the next questions that's coming up. They do make fitness equipment for younger children, and it looks like the same types of categories, just often cases the equipment's a little bit lower so that it meets their height requirements. So you will see that we're not taking specific votes. We just want to get your opinion to see if you're in favor with us including fitness equipment for children. So thank you for that comment.
Also, I'd like to add that we're going to be doing the kind of the nature play areas that are kind of fitness oriented and fun for kids. So we could incorporate those fitness for kids in those areas as well.
That's a great comment, Brian. Those are really great areas for kids to recreate without feeling like they're just out there exercising on a piece of equipment. They're out there, walking along a log, practicing their balance, and it may not feel like they're just out on a balance beam. So that's a really great comment there. And the comment about squats. So we're going to move along. This looks like it's out of order. Which was your favorite of these three? I apologize for the order there. The assisted functional trainer, that stretch and core, or that knee lift. We'll be wrapping up with this here shortly, and then we'll be opening it up for question and answers. So this one's a pretty level again as far as desire. So the assisted functional trainer and that stretch and core. So this goes to the comment that we received before, is that we are planning on incorporating youth equipment in addition to nature play. And we just want to know if you support that inclusion of youth fitness. Or maybe not. So it looks like all the folks participating agree with the inclusion of youth fitness. And a couple of that may not. So that concludes the survey of, getting a poll of some of these amenities to be included into the project. So I'm going to hand it back over to Brian, and we'll be starting to open up for the public question and answers and be able to raise your hand. So looking at the screen here, a little reminder that on the bottom of your Zoom toolbar, you'll look for the little logo that says participants, and it has two little people. When you click on that, you'll get a side toolbar that will allow you to raise your hand, and you can be called on one by one to communicate. And I'm also going to be bringing in any of the Spanish-speaking folks into the overall group and ending that interpretation. So we'll all be in one space. So we will be translating just here in a moment. All right, we should all be in the same room, so I'll hand it back off to you, Brian.
Okay. So we're waiting for questions to come through.
Estamos esperando a ver si alguien tiene una pregunta.
Is that a question for me?
It looks like Patricia has a question. So we're going to ask.
Parece que
We're going to ask
Patricia
you to
tiene una
unmute.
pregunta.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was really pleased. Are the questions about more than the fitness stations, or is it about the whole thing?
The whole project,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, I was very pleased to see a lot of these features that you've worked on to prepare realistic slides for us to view. It was really impressive. I very much like the slides that indicate the extent of landscaping, and trees and shade that there will be, and benches, and I very much like that. And the other thing I wanted to inform you of is at an earlier workshop, not the main one that you had like an entire year ago, but there was a smaller workshop that was like a
Stakeholders.
in between, and I had some questions about I was disappointed at an interim stage that there didn't appear to be a lot of an indication that features had been built into the plan to adopt things like that I personally are very interested in for passive enjoyment of the trail, like to have shade structures, because I'm an advocate. I'm active on the climate action plan, and just knowing in the projections, like already Escondido is so hot in the summertime, and in the future it's just going to be brutal. So I'm very interested in trying to build in features in this plan with the $68 million or Prop 68 funds to build in features like that for shade structures, for passive enjoyment, and human health and comfort. So I was very pleased to see that was reflected in your presentation today. And between the two, you had one slide that showed two options of shade canopies, and I have a strong preference for the first one that had a curved roof and the Y-shaped support structures. Two of those. Yeah, I really like that first one. The second one is just ugly. So and my other comment is on the shade, on the tree palette slide. I don't know if it's possible to zoom to that one. Yeah, most of those I think are ornamental trees, and I think there was a big interest expressed at one of your earlier workshops to, I know that these were all chosen from the city's approved landscape list, and I understand that, but there's an extensive interest from the environmental community to have the Creek Trail introduce native species. And I would like to see, say, for instance, oaks, sycamores, Engelmann oaks in Escondido. This is be a prime opportunity to, as an urban forest area, build, sort of combine this with the comments that have already been introduced with the climate action plan. They have a really active advocate community with experts who are specialized in landscape, like from the Escondido Creek community. And, to me, I think that the species that are shown here are less desirable from a ecological standpoint. So thank you.
Thank you for that. It's very informative. Super good to hear that. Thank you so much. I think just to address the shade, the trees, we're still working with the city on those species, and we're talking about that, especially on the west end where we have the more native setting of landscape. On the shade structures, we're going to try to be strategic about where those are. The really good thing about this corridor, first of all, you already have a trail and a system that's really established. And in it, you have all the street crossings, so it segments it in pretty evenly spaced way. And so that'll make it easy for us to look at where shelters can go and kind of creating a punctuation or repetition of where we can put shade structures. And then the trees, again, where we don't have utilities and where there's space to do it, we're gonna add those trees for shade and all the enjoyments that you had mentioned.
Great. At an earlier workshop, you had indicated that you have more space and width, to add trees on the northern side. But I'm just hoping that on the south side of the trail, the paved trail, that it's realistic for people like me or people who are interested in your project to have the expectation that there will be a continuous tree planting along the south side of the paved trail, like you've shown on that one, one of those early slides where you have a sort of a rendering of the,
either one of these.
So yeah, that one. So I'm hoping that that's a realistic expectation of something that we can expect will be a continuous treatment along the.
Yes, we'll be placing trees where we have both the space, the distance from the path. And like I said, we have to really look at the utilities that are out there, because we have to be careful of planting too close to those.
Understood.
Yeah, so there might be this look of sort of massings going on, like where we have a grouping here and then there's a space and then another grouping. What I want to avoid just is the sort of evenly spaced, one here, one here, one here, one here.
Yeah.
We want to really kind of create like groves of trees, and there might be space in between another grove, and it kind of coincides with your comment about the shade structure. So we'll do like these groves, and then there might be a little space, and then there'd be a shade structure, and then some groves. But we'll just have to be very strategic, because we're kind of dancing between other facilities that are out there, but we definitely want to take a look at that.
Thank you.
I just want to reemphasize too, we're going to deal with these 15-gallon trees right off the
Yeah,
Right
I,
on.
I understand that. And
And so that'll look a little funny at first. There'll be these small trees,
Yeah.
but they'll start taking off as you probably
they'll
are.
grow fast. They'll be irrigated.
Right, that's correct, yes.
Brian, it looks like we have a question from the chat. Can you discuss trail security, cameras, patrolling, and controlling homeless hangouts?
Yes, I'll address that, and probably Karen can fill in a little bit too on some of the security parts. But the city put in the new lights. I think it was 2014, and we're going to extend the lighting on the project. And when they did that project, they wired. They did the wiring for cameras, so that's already planned. And we're going to do the same for the new lights. We'll wire them so they'll have future ability to add cameras. But cameras are gonna, we're not really planning those at this very moment. I think that's going to take some more discussion within the city and how they do that and when they do that and where they do that. And if Karen wants to add anything to that.
Actually, can I?
Get them mute. Yeah, or done.
Always do that. We also recognize that we will need some additional rangers along there to do some of that patrolling, because as always, it's that live person that very frequently discourages bad behavior and encourages good behavior. So we're looking at that, and some of the things that may not be cameras, but maybe counters, so that we know what activity is going on when, which will help us to plan activities. It'll help us to figure out kind of how everything is being used without that personal identifying, so that we can make the world better for everybody.
And I just wanted to add, my name's Danielle Lopez. I'm the Assistant Director of Community Services. That we're being very strategic in the amenities that we're placing out there, so to not cause, areas that people undesirable activity would want to, occur and happen. So we're thinking about that with the benches that we're putting out there, with the fitness equipment that we're putting out there. So hopefully that will deter some activity as well. It won't be a very welcome area for that type of activity.
I just want to add one more thing about too is we work on trails all over the state, and the more people on the path, the more activity and the more people are using the trail, that almost becomes your policing too, that less desirable activities happen when there's more people using the pathway. So that's encouraging the new trail system, and the other activities that we're going to put on the path will hopefully increase more use from the community. Any other questions or chats going on that we can answer, or? Tyler raised his.
Tyler.
Hi there. I just wanted to comment a little bit more on the landscaping as well, because I do share the same interest in kind of continuing some more natural or California natives along the Creek Trail. But there is something to be said for some of the drama that some of those ornamentals that can provide, especially to the entryways of a park. If you've ever seen, a grove of ginkgo planted during the fall, it's just this amazing experience that we don't really get here in Southern California, where it's this golden color. So it could be a really dramatic entrance to select locations if we, really think strategically about where those ornamentals are planted along the Creek Trail. Everything else I'm in full support of. And as I had voted before. I think if anything stands to be left out of the picture due to budgetary reasons, I think the fitness court aspects could be probably one of those, since those might be beyond the fencing, some of the more capital heavy. And especially with the city of Escondido already committing to 5 fitness courts located within parks in Escondido, I think the money could be spent better with other amenities along the trail. So I just wanted to lend my input. Love the murals too. I love how you incorporated that Charlie Harper birding mural along that building there. It was very inspirational, and like to see that come to fruition too. So.
All right, that's great. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate the input on that. And yeah, there is the ability to maybe, if the fitness equipment is you know, teetering on being implemented or not, maybe it's just spaced out differently and or less of them, and you can certainly look at that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia was raising her hand physically, but she's on mute, so we can't hear her.
I'm
Oh, there you
sorry.
go, Patricia.
I agree with Tyler's comment about if the in the later phase of your planning, you encounter issues where, you know, money, there's choices about, you know, where to spend the money. I agree that I think that the fitness stations, you know, it seems like the current plan has along the entire length of the Escondido Creek Trail has proposed, you know, fitness stations at so many locations that I expect it would be a very large expense. And I think I agree with Tyler that I think the money could possibly be spent in a more in a way that could be enjoyed by more people in the long run, especially in the future with, you know, more extreme climate conditions. I think that the money could be spent in ways that, you know, could be enjoyed more by shade structures, you know, enhancements with landscaping and, you know, other ways to allow people to enjoy the space. Thank you.
Thanks, Patricia. Anyone else out there that has a question or comments? Please feel free to raise your hand. You can do that with, again, with your little hand raiser, or you can physically wave your hands in the camera. We'll do our best to get to you.
All right, if there's no more final comments, Brian, if you want to, oh, we got one. You got to unmute again.
I'm gonna just get back to the path. Sorry about that.
Patricia, you're still muted.
Sorry about that.
Okay, I was just curious. So this is a question instead of a comment. Since you've been so active in, you know, doing public outreach and contacts with property owners along the creek, I was just curious if the reactions you've gotten so far are pretty positive from, you know, like the apartments, you know, and, you know, the commercial properties that are adjacent to the creek. I'm hoping that, you know, they're encouraged by, you know, the opportunities that this, plan presents.
Oh,
I can,
go
go ahead,
ahead.
Brian, were you gonna say something?
I was gonna just say that the stakeholder meetings that we had, there was an overwhelmingly number of folks that were just excited about it and looking forward to see the enhancements of it. And I think, as you brought up, some of this security was, a concern, but for the most part, it's pretty positive input, and I'll let Danielle add to that.
I was actually just going to echo that same thing, that I've only, heard mostly positive responses. Security has always comes up, but that's, I think it will, and until we get people out there on that trail and we make the experience something different, then we'll change people's minds. We'll get there.
I would just add one more thing is, already having a trail, it's not like there's a trail isn't it there and we're going to put one in, but it's already being used. So by enhancing it and seeing an increase in use will be beneficial for a lot of the businesses along there, because people can go and get to the restaurants or go shopping, or end up kind of using the trail a little more as a pedestrian corridor. And since we've been all experiencing what we have this year, it's probably going to become a new sort of habit of just being healthy and getting out and being outdoors more. We're probably appreciating it more than ever before. So.
And we'll continue to engage those businesses that are along the trail and hopefully find ways where they can turn their businesses in. There's quite a few that may be able to benefit from utilizing that space and having that as a transportation corridor for people to get to and from their businesses. So we'll continue to work with those businesses and see how we can promote that.
Looks like there was a question in the chat asking, are there any restrooms along the trail?
There are no new restrooms planned, but I mean, there are locations along the trail. So there's restrooms in Grape Day Park, there's restrooms at Washington Park. Obviously, if you get off the trail at any, there's restrooms at businesses, but no new restrooms planned for the trail.
Let's see.
Para el público que habla español en este momento, ¿alguien tiene una pregunta?
Anna, did we have a question from someone on the other?
No, I was just asking if anybody
Okay.
did have a question, but I don't believe so.
Okay. Oh, one more. Trisha, you have to unmute.
There you go. Okay. Let's see. I had a idea, and it might fit. This would probably be something that Karen Ewell, you would be able to answer, because it sort of relates to things that you're exploring with the East Valley Parkway plan, specific plan. One of the ideas that was discussed with at a meeting that I had with some of the people I know, was the idea that there may be opportunities for increased density, maybe on some of the residential, multifamily residentially zoned properties. And if we thought that it might be a good idea to entertain the possibility or leave room for an option where, when these properties adjacent to the creek are redeveloped, in the future, that, they could possibly, have incentives to be eligible for density increases if they integrate features or reorient, the new multifamily dwellings towards the creek, in a way that, maximizes
So there
Exposure.
is, sorry.
Exposure. Yeah.
There are definitely some areas where we do that. We had a senior project that was adjacent to the creek, and that was one of the things that they did look at in terms of the design of the project was how was it addressing the creek?
Yeah.
And that was entitled with some expectation that they would be doing some improvements kind of right along the creek in that area.
That was for
That
the
is definitely something that's in people's
Okay.
on
I
people's
think
radar.
that's a really good idea, and it gives you know, incentives to those property owners, you know, to you know, maximize their density. The project you're talking about, is that the Juniper senior project?
No, that was a senior project on
Elm?
right across from the transit station.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It has received entitlements, but it has not yet started redevelopment of that location.
I see.
Okay, any other questions, or anybody have any more comments? We could probably wrap it up. I think this survey reminder is on the screen, right? We just want to remind people they can still take the survey if they'd like until December 17th. Is that right?
Correct. So if you have anybody else, any friends or family in the community that may have missed it this evening, they can take it online. That'll be posted on the city website, which is going to be on the next slide. It's the webpage dedicated specifically to this project, where you can stay up to date and check back in the future. And then, as we mentioned before, there's the option to pick up the physical hard copy survey. That's Mondays through Friday, 8 to 3 at City Hall.
Yeah.
And that'll be at the community services front counter. And we just, go ahead.
Question. Will people that are not able to participate in your workshop tonight, will they be able to view the video? Will it be posted online, you know, to view this entire, you know, presentation that you've done and the questions?
Yes, correct. So the video will be posted on the city webpage. Likely it'll be tomorrow. So takes a little bit of time for the recording to save.
Okay.
And it'll be posted on the Escondido Creek Trail webpage.
Super. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just another reminder of the schedule of the project. The next time we'll come to the public for an update will be sometime in March, and just come back and to kind of share where we're at and how we're doing. And then city council updates in spring and fall through the construction document phase.
Wonderful. This is exciting.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I think that ends our presentation. Thank you for participating. And for those that didn't get to make it, please go to the website and you can do the survey and check out the presentation and find out about the project as we go. We'll be updating the website as we continue.
Quisiéramos darles las gracias por participar en el diseño del Escondido Creek Trail. Si tuvieron dificultades técnicas, pueden todavía votar, pueden obtener la encuesta físicamente aquí en el Palacio Municipal de lunes a viernes 8 a 3 en el mostrador de servicios comunitarios. Recuerden que la encuesta se puede tomar hasta el 17 de diciembre. Ese es el último día para entregar las encuestas.
And that concludes our meeting this evening. Thank you so much for joining, and we look forward to providing you an update in March.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Gracias por acompañarnos.